You're listening to the Mississippi Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wyatt. Have you ever bought land in Mississippi to hunt or wanted to or thought about it? Well, listen, today on the show, we have the man, the hunting land man that you need to listen to who has done it and who lives it every day, Slade Priest, with us here today on the podcast.
Mississippi Outdoors is sponsored by Entergy Mississippi. Entergy is building a stronger and cleaner grid to power a brighter future and protect our great outdoors for generations to come.
He is Slade Priest, hunting land man, with us on the Mississippi Outdoors Podcast. Slade, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Matt.
So, have you ever been on a camera or microphone before?
About every day.
Every day, which includes like not only television, but a little bit of everything, right?
A little bit of everything. If you follow me on social media every morning, I try not to ever miss. I give a Bible verse of the day and then what's going on in the real estate world or the hunting world that day. So I'm on it every day.
So it's interesting how like real estate and hunting are all sort of interwoven for you. And then here comes the name Hunting Land Man. So,
and that was actually an accident, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when we had Train Assassin Television on the Sportsman Channel for 7 years, all my buddies were messing with me. Oh, the hunting land man, he can't go hunting this afternoon. He's got to go show some land. And it finally hit me. I was like, this could work. This could work. So I just went with it.
Yeah. So your buddies named you.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't it funny how that works, though? A lot of times it is a close friend that'll give you that nickname or something that sticks with you.
And I'm a nickname person. Like if I give you a nickname, that's what your name is forever.
Yeah. And this time it was reversed. That's really cool. All right, Slade, take me back. This may be something you've talked about a lot. I don't know. But take me back to growing up in Centerville, Mississippi, and kind of what led you on this path. Like I know somebody introduced you to the outdoors as a kid. Where did it all start?
Well, it's actually a really cool story because this is 100% a God thing. I didn't know I had been training for this job since I was 5 years old. All right. My dad's in the land and timber business. Both of my grandpas did sold land and developed land. Nobody ever was a real estate agent or anything. And so I grew up in hunting. I thought when I went up here to Belhaven, I thought everybody bought and sold land because that's all I'd ever been around. I just thought that was the thing people did. Yeah. And anyway, so when I was little, I think I killed my first deer, 6 or 7 year old, sitting in one of my first cousin's lap, shot a 4-point in the honey hole plot, the stand still in the tree.
Oh, really?
And my dad has said this on TV before. He said, Slade is my son I have ruined. And it is. It's what I do. Me and my buddy who works for me, we always talk about, we're not playing land agent. This is what we do every day. Like, if you don't get up and check your trail cameras as soon as you wake up, we're not on the same page. I was doing it when I was in a parking lot a while ago, seeing if any baby turkeys came by yet, just stuff like that. But anyway, so I started deer hunting was the main thing. And then as I got older, my Uncle Rusty, who passed away a couple years ago, was one of my best friends. He really got me into turkey hunting and bow hunting. And I've always been a bow hunter. Love bow hunting. Just like the challenge. It was like I'm a little cooler than you because I bow hunt all the time. And when I was 15, I've only killed 6 deer with a gun since I've been 15 years old.
Wow.
So I remember the first day during the rut in Mississippi, I took, it was December, and I took my bow during rifle season, and my dad said, "You going to have a big buck come by you, and you ain't going to get a shot." And sure enough, it happened. But now we all pretty much bow hunt only.
Yeah, how about that?
And so it's just, unless we're shooting hogs or something like that. And what's funny is I don't turkey hunt with a bow only. I've killed them with a bow, but it's just not the same.
Not the same, yeah. I wonder, of course, I know, a big compound bow is not necessarily primitive, but that bow hunting, just the idea of it is a little more primitive than...
You have to, you got to get a little bit there. Look, if I help you set up your place tomorrow, if I sell you a big tract of land and I set it up, we set up how to access, how you can get in and out the stand without ever spooking them with a gun. It just becomes a mathematical equation. If we know that he comes to this scrape and this food plot or this feeder every 5 days, and you can get in and out of that stand with the right wind for 5 days in a row, it's just a mathematical equation. With the bow, he can still be coming there, and everything's got to happen right for you to kill him. And not to discount rifle hunting because it's fun, but everybody has their same level of hard that they're fun with. You want to shoot a crossbow? That's your business. Do you want to shoot recurve only? Oh, that's not good enough. Longbow, unless you made it and made cedar arrows. I'm not there. I do have one, but I'm not there. I just like bow hunting in general.
Yeah, that's really cool. What about the land business as it pertains to like talking with people, helping people? Where do you get your kick out of that? I mean, I know it's not just making money.
No, no, it's so much more than that. I love what I do. And I've been fortunate enough, and go back to a God thing, I've been fortunate enough to do what I love to do my whole life. Whether it was, I had a wildlife consulting business for a while. I was an outfitter for a while. And now I sell land and did outdoor television show. I've had passion. In fact, if I had to sell houses for a living tomorrow, I could care less about crown molding and this and that. I'm not. It's not what I like to do. Yeah. But I love what I do in the outdoors. And for me, like I've got every day I talk to one of my clients, hey man, what deer made it this year? Is what's your game plan? Hey, let me help you set up your place. Like one of my passions that I do for totally free for my clients is, hey man, I will help you I'll help you set up your place because I love to do it. I love to develop land and it is if you do, and when I tell a client, this is why I do Hunting Landman TV and the podcast and all the things I do is if you come to Southwest Mississippi and let's say Wilkinson County and you ride around and I say, all right, if you buy this tract of land and you do A, B, and C, this is what you're going to kill. I'm not just telling you that because I want to make a sale. Go look, I've done it. And I know it works. And I'm very particular about that. Like any of my sponsors, like if I'm recommending a product, I've used it. And I don't know, it's just like me and you talking about earlier, you're just authentic whenever you're like that.
Yeah. You ever have any like well-known people, maybe even somebody we would consider celebrities who reach out to you looking at land or just asking for advice?
Yeah, all the time. Just doing what we do with outdoor television. We've been around a lot of people like that. I've taken Craig Morgan hunting and, bunch of people like that. A lot of professional athletes, that went to LSU, end up back at LSU, which is where most of my business come from is being in Southwest Mississippi. A lot of my business come from Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lafayette.
Ben McDonald.
Oh, I know Ben well. I can take you right to his lodge. Right
I thought so because
I sold the place across the street from him and catty corner to him.
Okay. So right there in the same vicinity. Mm-hmm. Because he's in Wilkinson County.
Yeah, you talking about ate up with hunting.
Oh, I know.
He love it.
He loves it. Yeah, that and baseball. That's a pretty good combination.
He's ate up with it, and he's a really good guy. And a lot of those LSU guys I've helped. Matt Godet, I talked to him yesterday. He was a pitcher at LSU, and he's a client of mine. And a lot of people like that, And it's cool. It's been really cool to me. So back when we had Trained Assassin Television, when we go like the ATA show or the Sportsman show or one of these shows, the Will Primos of the world and the Lee and Tiffany's and those kind of people, they were like here and we were here at best. But now, since it's all turned over, the Hunting Land, man, when I go to these big shows and stuff, everybody, well, let's talk land because it's the first thing I've done in my life. Look, I weigh 150 pounds. I love playing high school football, baseball, running track, but let's be for real. I'm not going to NFL or NBA, whatever. But in this game, I feel like I can be the best. And that's what says what trips the trigger. That's it. I feel like I found something I can be the best at. And it's fun. It's competitive every day. And the money's just how we keep score. I've got some of my best friends. Shane Saxon's a buddy of mine right here in Hopper Properties. Me and him are usually top 1 or 2 agents in the state every year. And I hope he sells 100 million this year because I want to sell 101 million.
That's great. When did the TV thing kind of pop off for you back in the day?
So when I was 15, buddy of mine, you remember the Hunter Specialties yellow and green trucks?
Yes.
Kyle Hicks was one of those guys. He was a friend of mine from Baton Rouge, still friends of mine. He lives in Missouri now. And he came down and we filmed for his show. And I was ate up with it from day one. I got me a video camera and we used to video ourselves out on my family's place doing whatever we did. If it was shooting coons or if it was shooting a deer or turkey. And then as I got to be in college, I was here at Belhaven. Rusty McDaniel went to work he's basically does Cuz's job at Mossy Oak. I was Rusty's first person he filmed. and we killed a bunch of deer and just was ate of it with it from day one. We kept filming our stuff, and with my outfitting business, we called my guides the trained assassins. Just a joke. We had T-shirts and stuff, and just a joke. And then so we started doing little YouTube, but this is before YouTube was YouTube.
Yeah.
And we started putting our stuff on there, and finally we had some sponsors come to us and say, hey, we would like y'all to do this on the Sportsman channel. So we found that out in December, and by July we were on outdoor television. Wow. And by January the next year, we were at the Sportsman show in Vegas. You talking about some rednecks in paradise? we're VIP at the club, and they're bringing filet mignon and everything else. And we're like, we started this a year ago. So
Isn't that something?
So much fun.
What was your reaction though when that first conversation happened? Said, "Hey, we want to put you on TV." I mean, there had to be a little
boy's dream.
Yeah,
little boy's dream. It was everybody this, and you got to remember when we did this, say 10 years ago, 12 years ago. This was the heyday of outdoor TV. This was whenever it was just, it's just changed a lot now. Sure. But it was, you couldn't pick up your phone and watch a 150-inch deer get killed. You had to go to the Outdoor Sportsman channel. Yeah. So it was the heyday, and it was like dream come true. Don't need any other boxes checked. It's all I ever need.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, you just referenced the phone. I mean, that's really been the big change from when you started Outdoor Channel, and to what everything is now in 2025.
You mentioned Ben McDonald earlier. I watched him shoot a big deer on Real Trees Facebook today.
Right.
If you want to, growing up, if you and I want to learn how to manage deer or anything like that, you remember those videos they used to put out that had to score the deer in these high fences and stuff like that, and the age? And that's how I learned to, okay, that's 140-inch deer, that's 150-inch deer.
But you're in front of your...
Yeah, you're in front of a big TV this way. Yeah. And you would have to go to a Monster Bucks or a Mega Bucks or Hunting the Country or Real Trees Monster. You'd have to go to that sort of thing to watch a lot of big and mature deer. So they still had some allure, it was still and trail cameras too. Everybody said, Big Lucas lives over in the briar patch over there. He's been there for the last 4 years. Well, now we know exactly what's there.
Right.
Which kind of takes away from it a little bit, but also at the same time, I love to run cameras as much as I like to hunt. So,
yeah, you said you were checking them in the parking lot before you came in here.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous how much I go. If I could have all that time back, I could beat Shane every year selling land.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned athletes and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Let's just go a hypothetical situation. Let's say some former LSU baseball player.
Well, Austin Riley, I'm trying to find him a place.
Austin Riley. Mm-hmm. By the way, you're talking about size. I ran into Austin outside of a Mississippi State football game in the Junction. He was just walking through with maybe some of his family. And it was one of those we were passing, and I nodded my head and said hello. You see him on TV, he looks one way, but in person, that's a big dude now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's around other big people.
Hey, 6'3", his shoulders are that wide. So
Tyler Jordan, he kind of put us together or whatever, and I think he ended up buying a place up North Mississippi, but we were trying to get him.
And he's from North Mississippi, I guess.
We were trying to find him a place up there. He wanted, he didn't want a lot. He just wanted 170-inch deer, a bunch of ducks, and big turkeys. So
okay.
Didn't want too much.
Not too much. Well, that was kind of what I was going to say. If somebody like Austin, let's go hypothetical. Mm-hmm. He says, I'm wrapping up playing career, and I want a place to hunt. And I'm thinking, South Mississippi. What does that conversation go like for you? How do you respond and then work with that? Let's say he said, I'm a career ball player. Mm-hmm. I'm not a professional hunter, and I don't know a whole lot, but I really love it. I want to get into it. What do I do?
Comes down to three questions: what you want to spend, where do you want to be, and what your goals are for your property. Okay, let's just take guys from LSU, let's say. And I live in Baton Rouge. I live in the country club of Baton Rouge. I want to be no more than an hour and a half. Okay, you want to be an hour and a half from Baton Rouge? You have to be Franklin, Adams County, and south or into Louisiana. Okay, so we got Wilkinson County, Amite County, Franklin County, Adams County. Okay, we got to stay right there, maybe Pike. Okay, well, then you get more specific and say, so, Slade, I want to be able to kill 140, 150-inch deer or have the opportunity at one of those every year. Okay, well, we better get towards a river county or get somewhere with really good neighbors. And then budget, we go from there. Of course, the bigger the budget, the little easier it is. But
to
even with and any good agent will tell you this, even with a really big budget, people don't just let go of these good properties. You know, you can tell them, look, I want to buy you a place. I give you whatever you want. Well, it ain't for sale.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting for people like me and others to hear that sometimes they might be as specific with you as this is what I'm looking for. You know, like you mentioned with Austin, big deer, plenty of ducks, doesn't need to be a big place. I mean,
and the different boxes mean so much. Like if you check the duck box, okay, well, if you're in, it's not like the Delta. If you're in Southwest Mississippi, you gotta be in the floodplain. Well, I don't want a place that floods. Well, ducks don't work unless we're just shooting wood ducks, which is fine too. But if you want a chance at big ducks, we have to be in the floodplain. That's how it works. So, you just got to figure out what boxes. And one thing that's important too, everybody looks through their own lens. Okay. Me, I want to kill 5-year-old deer with my bow, me and my family. That's my goal. Okay. Some people may want their grandchild or significant other or child to kill a 6-point buck. And look, that's the American dream. There's nothing wrong with that. If you can afford a tract of land, and if you say, Slade, I'm not worried about 150-inch deer. I just want my family to be able to see some deer every time they go out, or most times when they go out, and have a good experience. Well, I can get you more bang for your buck and say Walthall County or somewhere like that. You can see plenty of deer. You may not have quite the quality, getting away from the river, but you may be able to afford 100 acres instead of 60 acres, in Wilson County.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, your expertise and how you know that. Is that years of just experience? Is it talking to people?
Well, it's no different than if let's say you lived in Jackson. You say, okay, man, you want to kill big deer, you want Yazoo County, and and then not and as specific as in about a 4-county area. What are the neighbors doing? You want to get a client to really listen to you. Say, let me tell you why you're going to love this tract. Here, I got the number of this neighbor. This is what they killed last year. This is what they passed up. This was coming up next year. Yeah. Funny story with that. I had a client one time. We were looking at 800 acres in Wilson County. And he got telling me about this deer. And he said, he was describing a 170-inch 10-point, which in Southwest Mississippi, he went to describing it. And I said, tell me where you're leasing again. He told me where we're leasing. I knew the place. And he said, but look, September the 29th, he disappeared. I ain't seen him since. And I got on my own X and I measured. And I said, well, he's 1.8 miles away. He said, what do you mean? I said, is that his picture? He said, yeah. I said, he's at a client of mine's place right now. And he said, this dude knows all the deer in the county. And I told him, I said, that was just plain luck. But, when you're describing a 170-inch deer, and he was legit 165, 170, and he was describing him. He was 1.8 miles away at a client of mine's place.
That's like a salesman's dream right there, I would think.
Yeah, he walked right into that.
There he walked right into it. That's great. What you were kind of touching on there as you were describing it, you were saying it without saying it, which is maximizing the potential, maximizing land potential. So, under that description, maximizing land potential, is there like a bullet point list of things that you kind of go through?
Well, most of the places we sell that sell a lot of pine timber land used to be Weyerhaeuser or Plum Creek or IP land. And so those places, there's always some timber management, maybe some burning, thinning. I grew up on a big timber farm, so I've done every piece of that. I've marked the trees to cut with my dad's logging crews. I've burned. I've done fertilizing of natural vegetation, stuff like that. So I don't care where you are, you can always make your place better. That's one thing about my friends like, hey man, you got time to fish, you got time to golf. No, I'm working on my land. Like if I'm not with my family, that's what I'm doing. And that's what I enjoy doing. But something that's huge in most of our areas, so we're, every area of the state's different, but let's just take Southwest Mississippi where I live. Big fields aren't really a thing. Like ag fields, definitely not, or even big cattle fields. It's mostly timber ground. I would say in most of our area, it's 98% wooded or more. And when you tell somebody that, like from Midwest, I just got back from Missouri and Iowa, like, what? 98% wood? It must have deer everywhere. Yeah, but good luck, trying to find them.
Yeah.
But, and so I think if you can do things, what I'm getting at is if you build like big food plots and habitat work, if you can do things on your place that your neighbor doesn't do, you can have deer and quality experience that your neighbor doesn't have. You want to make a significant, let's say you got 100 acres and you want to make it as good as possible. You load that sucker up with big food plots that are super secluded, that a lot of deer feel comfortable in for generations. And this doesn't happen overnight. If deer grow up as a fawn coming out in the field as a 1.5-year old deer, man, I can walk out here at 4 o'clock. Nobody bothers me. It's not somebody driving through every 5 minutes. When you can do that, you can change a whole place. My place where my house is, kind of like my testing grounds, I got 130 acres there, and I got a 2.5-acre field. And I remember before I put those fields in, that food plot, I actually got 10 acres right in front of my house as a field. I told my dad, I said, I've got some really good deer on camera, but there's not a lot of them. Well, since that time, I've thinned timber. I got summer food plots. I got clover. I got feeders. I got everything going. And now on a good afternoon, you may see 25 deer in that 2.5-acre food plot. Mm-hmm. My wife killed a big 10-point. My little boy killed a big 8-point. My wife killed another good 8-point last year, right there, 400 yards from my front door. So back to what I was saying earlier, I'm not playing land agent. This is what I live and breathe every day. So if I tell you A, B, and C, I've done it.
So that was not just a hypothetical. You literally are waking up, feet hit the floor, checking cameras.
Mm-hmm. Checking cameras. Yeah. Well, I remember when I built my house, talking about that's something else. Talking about living what you do is I have a place where me and my family recreate and enjoy. And it ain't all about hunting. My wife runs on the road in front of the house. My little boy and girl ride their go-kart and motorcycle. We use our land for all types of stuff. I remember right after I built my house, I was getting coffee. We're talking about coffee earlier. Getting coffee, sitting at the bar. Took my first sip, and I look out the front door, and a 3-year-old 8-point chased a doe across the driveway. I said, I've made it. This is what I always wanted. I've made it.
Right across the driveway. Mm-hmm. That's really, really cool.
Yep.
Most memorable, this may not even be a fair question. Most memorable hunting experience for you?
Oh, it's been so many. Something that is my favorite now, growing up in Southwest Mississippi, calling in turkeys and stuff like that. Elk hunting with a bow has just become something I love. So some of those are at the top. But one cool thing that with that experience, on that phone right there, I have not killed a buck or a bull, maybe a couple of turkeys, not on camera in like 15 years.
Oh, really? Not on camera?
Yeah. Everything I've killed's on camera. So to get back to your question though, the hunts with my kids, my little girl, it's funny, one of my most memorable, I was not on the hunt this year. We had this big deer that was coming out. What did my little girl call that buck? I can't remember his name. Anyway, big 9-point on a place that I developed. I put in the food plots and I owned a couple miles away from my house. And Tom was his name. Tom and Jerry. There was another buck she called Jerry.
Tom and Jerry.
So she was 6 at the time. My 6-year-old little girl, this buck was coming on camera. Me and her I let her check out of school. We were hunting hard, and my 13-year-old had a basketball game that day. So my right-hand man, Caleb, who's hunted on that place with me before, I said, "You've got to take Asa this afternoon. He's coming, and he's moving too much in daylight. Somebody's going to kill him." And this was a big old mountable 18-inch wide 9-point. And I'm sitting at the game, and Caleb texts me, "Tom's in the field." Then Tom's down. Got it all on video. It's an episode. And I walked outside, and I called her and FaceTime or whatever, and going to help her pick it up, and the whole experience through her eyes is, I don't know, it's kind of full circle. Yeah. This was the first year ever that I kind of thought he turned 4 Saturday, when he starts turkey hunting, I don't know if I'm going to just run out and try to get my limit real fast anymore, because turkeys are a finite resource, of course, and it's just, I don't know. It's the first time in my life I said, I'd rather them kill these easier turkeys or whatever like that. I may just hunt the fringe turkeys that are hard to kill.
That's
stuff like
great.
that.
That's great. Well, okay, and far be it from me to start waxing poetic on our podcast, but I'm as you say that, I'm thinking about that quote I heard somebody say that it said, "Societies grow great when old men plant trees under the shade of which they will never get to sit in." Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what you're thinking. You've hit a point. I'm not saying you're old. You're still a young man, but you've hit a point where you're now starting to think about, okay, it's not just my experience. It's experience for these youngins that are coming up.
Right. And I want my kids to have the same. They don't have to be hunters, but I would love them to have the same passions I have.
Good chance.
For the outdoors. And they all hunt now. He was 3 last year. He's been in the stand several times. And it's funny how every one of them react different. And this is something going back to my clients. Like, this is what my clients want for their families. And so, like, he was 3-year-old time. The other day I said, all right, Rafe, it was he didn't have school anymore, so he had to go to work with me for a half a day. I said, all right, we're going to work. And as he was packing his bag, he packed his binoculars. We going deer hunting, huh, Daddy? Because he figured he was going, we were going deer hunting. It's funny how the different things they take away. And, probably me and you, you always see something new in the outdoors, but when they're seeing it all for the first time, so it's fun. And when you can tell, like when I'm riding a client around, I got a yellow side-by-side, and I'm riding around, and we stop, and they're talking, man, Slade, I really like this place. I want a place for my grandchildren to kill their first deer, or my little girl, or my 2 little boys, they're getting into hunting or whatever, and I pull up pictures and say, well, look, my little girl killed this one 5 miles from here. We killed this one. We did this, and this. The clients trust you a lot more because it's not like I took a class that told me I could do this. We're doing this every day.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Well, and this is something that, a lot of people listening are not going to need this, but for those that don't know, where can they find you? If they haven't followed you yet on social, or if they haven't found your content, where do you tell them to go?
Everybody, you can find me on any social media platform. I'm probably most active on Instagram and Facebook. And then huntinglandman.net is my website. But, I'm very active on the social media platforms. I'm letting people know. And not only, and with my podcast also, I tell people, look, I started with 12 acres and a house trailer was my first land purchase. Now I have a whole lot more than that in Mississippi, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Missouri. I'm giving away the secret sauce through my social media and podcasts every day. How can you get there? How can you use financing like people like Southern Ag Credit or these different places to get you to that? Everybody wants to own land. Everybody wants to get on social media. Of course, you're killing them big deer on private land. Well, look, if you'll follow me on social media, I'll show you how you can be the guy with private land. It's not rocket science. You just got to be smart.
HLM, Hunting Land Man.
That's me.
You just talked about now at this point in your life, places not only in Mississippi and other states that you have land. What does it say about Mississippi, the state, the opportunities that our state offers? Somebody like you can grow up in Centerville, and now look, you're the hunting land man. You got places to hunt. You're helping people with properties in states all around the place, all the way to Oklahoma. What does it say? What does your story say about the state of Mississippi and what it offers?
I think it's Mississippi and a lot of the South. We're different here. I tell everybody, if you can kill a deer or turkey in Mississippi, you can kill a lot everywhere else. Like, we turkey hunt here to hunt. We go other places to get even. It's a different ball game. But I think from a Mississippi standpoint, like, we have so many opportunities. I think it gets people think it gets pushed to the backside a little bit. Oh, we don't grow 180-inch deer. Yeah, but we grow a lot of deer. And you can manage your place you can make your place better. And there's just a whole lot of opportunity in Mississippi. And it's not just the deer and the turkeys, it's everybody's thinking about fishing right now during the spring. It's this morning I was sitting outside drinking my coffee, sitting outside. It was cool in the morning, and it's just gorgeous. And even though I just got back from Missouri and Iowa, some of the best states in the Midwest, it ain't home. Yeah. It ain't Mississippi.
Slade, really a treat for us to get to meet you, talk to you. Thanks for coming by.
I got one question for you before we get off.
All right.
Okay. On my podcast, I make this question. It's a very interesting question. You can find out a lot about somebody.
Okay.
All right. Me and you go and we buy lottery tickets today. And you call me and say, Slade, I did it. I got $100 million coming to me next Friday. If you got $100 million, where are we buying land and why?
You're asking me? Oh, boy. Can I split it up into two places?
It's your $100 million. You can do whatever you want with it.
Okay. I would say for me, the answer would be one is going to be close to where I live. I'm right now. I'm in Lee County, which is Tupelo,
right,
northeast Mississippi, and as far as I know, Miss Annabeth and little Mary Liddy don't want to leave Tupelo. So it would need to be somewhere drivable, maybe within an hour there. And then the other thing would be in somewhere in maybe Chilton County, Alabama, where the peaches come from. That's where all my family's from. It's where my dad's from. It's where my mom's from.
You stay in SEC then, huh?
Yeah, staying in SEC. And it kind of, that area feels like home to me.
Right.
Chilton County feels
that's
like home.
the most common thing is around the house.
I figured that you would say
and
that.
it's funny. It's like, I had somebody ask me, they say, why you travel everywhere? Why you still live in Central Mississippi? I don't know. It still feels like home. It's home. And I think everybody has that,
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people say I'd like a bigger elk ranch in Montana or a place in the Midwest.
Yeah. Yeah. See, my problem is I'm already thinking about trying to convince my wife to go to Montana. I don't think I'd do it.
Has she been?
No.
I went for the first time in October up there. When I stepped off the plane, I was like, okay, I get it.
You get it.
And it's different than Colorado, different than Wyoming. It's Montana. It's like, it's Yellowstone. I mean, it is gorgeous. God, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, but you'll appreciate this. My wife, she's as Southern as it gets. Born in Natchez, raised in Vicksburg.
Okay.
So
if she was born in Natchez, raised in Vicksburg, she knows how to cook better than most everybody from Tupelo.
Yeah, she really does, and does not give herself credit for that, but it is true. Yeah.
She does red beans and rice gumbo.
She can do it.
Okay.
Absolutely. And a chili too that's in that vein that is second to none.
Nice.
Yeah. You hungry?
Oh, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
I'm getting there too. Slade, I really do appreciate you coming by, man. It's great to meet you.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me on.
He is the hunting land man, Slade Priest, here on the Mississippi Outdoors Podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you outdoors.